Hi friends, it's Danielle with Take Care Mama, and today I am talking about my Q2 reading wrap up. I'm going to talk about my statistics for Q2 as well as the top 5 books that I read this quarter. So stay tuned. This video is sponsored by Hayworth. I'm so happy to be working with them again. I use them for my reusable menstrual pads as well as period panties. I think that's what they call them. Menstrual panties. I love them so much, and I will never go back to conventional disposable products to manage my period. I have a code for a discount, so check the description below and check out their website. In Q2, I read 25 books, so I am right on track to read 100 books this year. So crazy. My goal was 50, and I just changed the goal on my Goodreads account. I would love to be friends with you over on Goodreads and Instagram. Both are Take Care Mama. This month, unfortunately, the rating I gave out the most was a 3 out of 5 stars. Looks like about 36% of my books were 3s, followed by 4, 32%, and 27% 5. 1 2-star. I don't remember what that was. And then genres are kind of all over the place. 44% nonfiction. I listen to about half my books. So I'm reading about 2 books a week, 1 physical copy, 1 non-physical or audio. And typically those are nonfiction books that I listen to. So my nonfiction is quite high. I think I said last quarter that I really wanted to read a lot more horror. Unfortunately, I did not take my own advice. I only read 2 horror books, but both I really liked. I definitely could work on mixing up the genres of what I read for next quarter. I only read 1 historical fiction this quarter, but really loved it. It's not in the top 5, so I'll tell you the 4 wins. And I really would love to read more historical fiction next quarter, as well as science fiction. I think that that's a genre I've steered clear from, but I think I'd actually really like it from the few that I have read. So I'm going to talk about, in no particular order, the 5 favorite books that I read this quarter, give you a little summary, and I have a quote from each one that I really loved. So we're starting with a nonfiction, and that is New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. I'm really into the New Age spiritual thing. This is the best spiritual book I have read so far in my life, and I have read quite a few. I both listened to this and read it physically, and I really like the audiobook, which is read by the author. He does have a pretty strong accent, but I found him easy to listen to. I loved this book. We all hear about our ego and keeping our ego in check and the death of our ego, and then things like staying present. We always need to be staying present. And until I read this book, I didn't quite grasp what those concepts actually meant and how to tangibly kind of incorporate these things into my day-to-day. And he just explained it really well, and so the concept sunk in. But on the other hand, this was a lot. This was a really heavy book, and I definitely will be rereading again, like maybe even next month. I'm just excited to keep going and keep growing as I slowly grasp each of these concepts. I love this quote I'm going to share with you, talking about kind of your life goals and ambitions. Instead of seeing yourself as a famous actor and writer and so on, see yourself inspiring countless people with your work and enriching their lives. Feel how that activity enriches or deepens not only your life, but that of countless others. Feel yourself being an opening through which energy flows from the unmanifested source of all life through you for the benefit of all. Definitely check out this book. I'm going to read The Power of Now next, which he actually wrote before this one. And let me know if you are a fan of Eckhart Tolle. And all of these books will be linked in the description below if you're interested in checking them out. The next book is spiritual as well, but fiction. All of these books kind of have a spiritual element. throughout them, which is interesting because there's only one nonfiction. But this one is by Paulo Coelho, who is becoming one of my favorite authors this year. And this is The Witch of Portobello. I love this. I also want to reread this. I also probably read half of this and listened to the other half. This audiobook is really amazing. The speaker does an excellent job. There are several points of views in this book, and she just nails it. It is really, really something. This book is about a character called Athena, who is a person on a spiritual journey, and she is also a person who just really makes an impact on everyone she meets. Just one of those larger than life personalities. And this book is told from, I think, 7 different viewpoints of those who came into contact with her and their story concerning Athena. There are a lot of spiritual teachings in this book that she learns along the way. And I love it because it's very female centered. So Athena is a female. And this book refers to God as Mother God. Often she dances as part of her spirituality to kind of connect to source energy. And I just loved all the femininity in this book. I, on my personal spiritual journey, am at a place where thinking of God as mother is really helpful to me right now. And I just loved this so much. And the dancing, I used to dance all the time as a kid, and I've been just dancing more since reading this book. Like while I do the dishes, the kids and I will have a dance party, and it just feels good and joyful, and I love this. A quote I wanted to share with you from A Witch of Portobello is, "All we have to do is understand that we're all here for a reason and to commit ourselves to that. Then we can laugh at our suffering, large and small, and walk fearlessly, aware that each step has meaning." My next favorite is A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. He is also becoming one of my favorite authors. I read Anxious People by him earlier this year. And I adore this author's writing style. It is very witty and sarcastic, and also very touching and tear-inducing for me. It reminds me of a really good sitcom, like very funny, very light moments, but also some deep themes are worked in throughout this. In this book, we're talking a lot about death and our relationships with each other, with our intimate lovers, as well as our neighbors and the community. We're following Ove, our main character, who is an old, grumpy man. He's actually not even that old. I think he's in his 60s, but he is just the typical grumpy person. And he is a widower, and we watch him as he has some strange interactions with some neighbors and helps them out, and it is just a lovely, lovely story. This is one I can definitely see myself reading again, and I think I'd like to try the audio for this one if I read it again in the future. Let me know if you've listened to this book. I'd love to know. Oh, and then the quote from this book is about death. "Death is a strange thing. People live their whole lives as if it doesn't exist, and yet it's often one of the greatest motivations for living. Some of us in time become so conscious of it that we live harder, more obstinately, with more fury. Some need its constant presence to even be aware of its antithesis. Others become so preoccupied with it that they go into the waiting room long before it has announced its arrival. We fear it. Yet most of us fear more than anything that it may take someone other than ourselves. For the greatest fear of death is always that it will pass us by and leave us there alone." Next, I want to talk about Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption by Stephen King. If you've been wanting to check out Stephen King but aren't so sure about the horror genre, I would definitely check this out. I think I take this just as contemporary fiction. There's nothing scary or anything like that in this book. It's just a really great story. So this takes place, I think, mostly in the 50s and 60s in Maine, where most of his books take place. And it's another prison book, kind of like The Green Mile. It reminded me a lot of The Green Mile. And so we're in a federal prison. The narrator has been there forever. He's kind of like the dad of the prisoners. Very wise, very well liked, gets a lot of contraband into the system. And then another young man comes in and kind of changes everything. And straight away, people notice something different about this new inmate. He has this quiet confidence that really makes him stick out in this setting. This book, and actually the others that I'm talking about today, it's not about the plot. It's a fine plot, but it's more about the characters and the themes. And in this book, we talk about hope and perseverance and self-confidence. And it was just a very touching story. And then, of course, there is the movie Shawshank Redemption that goes along with it. I watched that for the first time after reading the book. I like both of them a lot. I definitely like the book a little bit more. And here's my quote from Shawshank Redemption. Rita Hayworth in Shawshank Redemption. I have to remind myself that some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are just too bright. And when they fly away, the part of you that knows it was a sin to lock them up does rejoice. But still, the place you live in is that much more drab and empty that they're gone. I guess I just miss my friend. And then lastly, Split Tooth by Tanya Tagaq. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This is fictional. This is fantasy, magical realism, and a lot, again, of spiritual elements, which I love. And this is a lot of prose and poetry side by side, which I also really love. And like Shawshank Redemption, it's not really the plot, but the lessons we take from this short story following a young woman living in an Indigenous Canadian community. And she goes through some really dark, terrible things, but she has a strong spirit, and through her drama teaches us lessons. I don't want to say too much, and I really don't even know what to say. If you appreciate very beautiful lyrical writing, this might be the book for you. And this is my favorite quote of all 5, so I'm glad I ended on this. Dreams will follow you into the day to force action, to change what caused the anxiety. We never like to listen to ourselves, even when we know we have to. We plod on, ignoring what we must be, what we are meant to be. We are taught to fear instincts. We must hunt down and fall in love with the fear, therefore defeating our self-doubt every day. This is followed by joy. This is followed by handing over control. This is followed by lightness. This is followed by freedom. This releases the dream. Amazing. So you can see there definitely was a theme in my 5 books, definitely more spiritual, just good life lessons in here. And I think at least 1 or 2 of these are going to make my top favorite books of the whole year. Although 3 stars was my greatest rating this month, or this quarter, like these 5 books of the top, I love passionately. I think with that considered, it was a really great reading quarter. Yeah, I feel like this video was really long, so I think I'll wrap it up. Let me know if you have any questions, or if you've read any of these books, or if you just want to say hi. I'd love to read your comments below. Please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, come say hi on Instagram. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye.